I just want to welcome everyone here today. I'm David Weinstein. I'm the director of the Center on Japanese Economy and Business here at Columbia Business School and the Carl S. Shoup Professor of the Japanese Economy at Columbia. We're delighted I'm delighted to introduce our speaker today, who will be talking to us about AI across industries, the current status and case studies from Japan. I'm sure many of you know, I'm sure all of you are using AI at this point, but probably know less about how AI is being used and developed in other countries. Before I turn it over to our speaker, I just want to say a few words about CJEB. The center was established in 1986, so we're about to have our 40th anniversary, and its mission is to promote knowledge and understanding of the Japanese economy and business systems in an international context. CJEB is the only research center focusing on the Japanese economy in a university setting in North America, so that makes us and Columbia very special. I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Daisuke Okanohara, co-founder and chief executive officer of Preferred Networks, or PFN. He just transitioned to his CEO role on November 26th, so that was, I guess, last week. We got him just at the right time. He had previously been the chief technology officer of PFN. He founded PFN in 2014 to advance AI towards practical use across various industries. And for those of you who don't know, PFN is one of only 11 unicorns in Japan. So it's a really special company in Japan and in the world. He currently leads PFN's research and business efforts for its core technologies, including generative AI, the Plamo large language model, and the Matlantis universal atomistic simulator. He serves as the CEO of Matlantis, a PFN subsidiary that markets the simulator for materials discovery. And you can read more about him in your booklet. Dr. Okanohara will discuss real-world AI applications across industries and processes at PFN and Matlantis, from R&D to operations. And he'll also share his perspective on the future of the AI industry in Japan and the world, including possible opportunities for possibly Columbia students. Before turning it over to Dr. Okanohara, I want to take a moment to thank CJEB's corporate and individual sponsors listed in the booklet that you have. We get no support from the government or from Columbia, so we live entirely off the donations of supporters. And that lets us do events like today's. After Dr. Okanohara finishes his talk, we're going to open it up to question and answers. So as he's speaking, please think about questions, and I'll try to pick people who raise their hands. So without any further ado, Daisuke, the floor is yours.
So, hello everyone. I'm Daisuke Okanohara from Preferred Networks. So today I would like to talk and discuss about how the AI is used in Japan, and also our activities try to use this AI in the very challenging field. So this is today's agenda, and as introduced, I'm Daisuke Okanohara, and I'm a co-founder. Previous CEO Nishikawa-san is my university's friend, and he studied a supercomputer or semiconductor, and I studied AI at the university. So therefore, now our company and I doing the both chip development and also the AI development. And also, I'm the member of the study group on guidelines for AI business in Japan. This is long, but in this study group, the members from the business, governments, and making guidelines for the developers and users of the AI, how to use this AI safely and also the appropriately in the many situations. Also, if you can read the Japanese, try to buy my books. I write many books and about the AI in Japanese. And I write recently the books about the diffusion model or symmetry and AI, which is important for the physics, AI, and so on. And some, these books are translated in also the Chinese and Korean, not in English, but so if you are interested in, please read this. And then let me introduce our company, Preferred Networks. So our mission is to make the real world computable and create the future together. So this means that, computable means that real world is not computable at all. We cannot, we don't know how that train is now moving in which position in each time. And so using computing technologies, computer technologies, sensing and also analyzing and also the automatic actuations make the world computable. And also our company is a bit strange compared to the standard startups today. So when we started a company about 10 years ago, we did not raise the money from the VCs. All funds are from our business partners. So, our external shareholders is a kind of many Japanese leading company in each domain, like Toyota, Fanuc, and recently our shareholders like Kodansha. Maybe you know the Kodansha as publisher of the Attack on Titan, publisher many manga books, and also we have a Toei, so largest animation company in Japan, and also the finance and manufacturing. So there are many companies are now working together with us to try to use AI in their business and also make a new product or service together. So this is current status of our company. So, and also we are a bit different from the ordinary startups who focus on the one business. We have such 4 layers of the business from the bottom, AI chips and the computing infrastructure, also developing foundation models, and also provide AI solution products to the customers. So this is current status. Try to integrate these 4 factors to make competitive new products using AI. However, we did not design such a company structures. This is a result of our activities for 10 years. So in 2014, this was a year of using deep learning technologies to try to use this in the many areas. And at that time, we were collaborating with Toyota to make an autonomous driving system, and also the Chugai for drug discovery, Fanuc, about robot automation using AI. So we tried many things, and some of which of the such activities actually worked well. And we expanded this outcome as domain-specific products like Matlantis or robotics applications. And also, in the 2016, after launching our company 2 years later, we started to develop a chip. So we didn't expect that such a semiconductor or chip becomes very important in the AI. But as I said, I and Nishikawa-san were co-founder, and Nishikawa is researchers on the chip and the supercomputer in the university. So, and also I realized that although there are many advancements in the AI research, the most important thing is to increase the computation capability. So we decided to start such a chip development or chip research in the very years. And so in short, we try to, we get the revenue from the customers, and most profits goes to this chip development. Although these chips do not make a revenue for 10 years. So lastly, we recently now be able to provide these chips to the customers. So hope that such a effort will become fruitful in the future. So also I want to mention about the current Japan's semiconductor landscape and also our current position in this landscape. So you know that AI is now become very important in the AI, like in the bottom, the global players, OpenAI, Anthropic, Meta, Google, provide the AI, and also to support this AI development and usage, there are many new AI cloud data center players. Also, in the AI chip, NVIDIA is now dominating, but NVIDIA chips, more chips are developed in the fab in the TSMC. And these TSMC chips are developed using technologies in the materials and equipment by the Applied Materials ASML. So in Japan, there are also many companies working in each regions, especially recently in the material and equipment field. The Japan's materials become very important, and so they are growing. And also Japan now is trying to make a new fab called the Raptas. And however, in the later stage, there is no player in Japan currently, especially from the startup. So we now trying to become the player in this fabless chip designer and also AI cloud data center and AI developer in this field. So this is the current status of our company, and also, this is a landscape of the current AI situation. So then let's go dive into our each business domain and also provide my view of the AI today. First topic is about AI semiconductor. So as you know, the AI becomes smarter and also very powerful for many applications. And to support such a development, the demand for the AI training exponentially increasing. It is about 4.6 times per year pace. Even now, I think the largest one today is maybe Google or XAI data center in the case of the United States, and also that China and also have a very good computing capability under these competitions. So this is growing. However, the AI inference becomes a much higher, much faster pace now. AI inference demand increased 80 times per year today. And I think that this year, the demand for the AI inference becomes larger than the demand for the AI training. So therefore, before this time, the demand for the semiconductor for the AI training is very important. But now the demand for the AI inference becomes much more important for the semiconductor field also. So I'd like to mention about the difference between the AI training and inference. Although they are similar, looks similar, the detail is very, very different. So when we want to train the AI model, say the ChatGPT or Gemini, the requirement factor is computing power, and also the data center or computing infrastructure needs the density or needs the very tightly connected networks to make enable training the large scale models. And cost in the third part, cost at the training, the players do not care about the cost at all because they need to survive and they need to win over the competitors. So super expensive chip or supercomputer is allowed. And also the software is important. Researchers need to try and error on this, on the many ways. So in these factors, the NVIDIA wins now and also wins in the next years, I think. However, when it comes to the inference or using AI, everything is different. For the key KPI, the most important factor is memory speed. So when we run the, say, the ChatGPT on the GPUs, in the computation, the model is large number of the parameters needs to be loaded between from the memory to the GPUs, and also the context also needs to be loaded. And today the context of the LLM becomes longer. This memory band-wise becomes more important. And the computation is also required, but memory now becomes a much more bottleneck. And also when it comes to the density, each server can run independently. It is more standard cloud-like workload. And also the cost, in the case of the cost, the users requires lower, not expensive chips, because it is more like OPEX-like operations. Service provider want to reduce the price, so they want much more cost, much cheaper chips in this case. And also in the software side, unlike the training case, inference do not require implement many new ideas. They just run the famous models like GPT or Qwen and so on. So there is no user-side programming at all. So like this, LLM inference is very different. So therefore, the many startups are trying to develop the AI inference chip. So in our case, I cannot explain in detail, but today the most chips uses technologies called HBM, NVIDIA and TPU. Most users, most chip developers use the technology called HBM. in this case, logic and memory are located horizontally. And Grok and Cerebrus, new startups, use this technology called using S1 to support the LLM workload. However, it requires a very large-scale data centers, and the price is not so becomes cheap. And in your case, we try to support the 3D stacked DRAM on the logic, and this is very new, challenging technologies, and we want to become the first player in these new technologies chip providers. Now, as far as I know, the 10 companies in the global, from the China, Korea, US, and we are now making this technology, using these technologies to provide a product. This is very competitive, but I'll try to release this in the in the global. So if we can deliver this, then the users can use our chips to provide LLM workload for the not using a data center scale computation infrastructure, just use one PC or one device to provide a very fast inference. This is a current one target for us. Next is about our LLM activity, Pramo. So in Japan, we, including us, several companies and research institutes are developing LLM from scratch, and we are the one with such members. And so LLM development is also very, very competitive, and we need support from the government in the computing resource, and also the using this LLM in the workload. So in Japan, we want some called sovereign AI or our own AI to support the workload, important workload using LLM. And so we are now collaborating with the government to make LLM using government's data, and also try to support the many workload in the government. Say the one case is a defense, and the other case is operating the government's data to using and analyzing this government data to support their workload. So in this case, we cannot use, so it is challenging for us to use overseas LLMs. So we try to make LLMs by ourselves. So this is a second activity. And the third is about Matlantis. So this is a very also different story. So please catch up this. Sorry. So this is the third topic, but actually this is our most growing business now. So we are now developing AI for supporting material discovery and material development. And today, so far, the most such a material discovery activities research are done in the experiments. But now we can use a simulator to examine the new materials quickly. However, the existing such a simulators is very slow, requires weeks or months to simulate one new materials. And even in this case, AI is a very, changing the world. It can support such a workload. It can accelerate such a simulation from weeks to the 1 millisecond. So based on such a outcome, such a transformation, we are now providing a service called Matlantis. So maybe you may familiar with AlphaFold from the DeepMind. So AlphaFold also changed the simulations. It predicts protein folding very quickly. However, so in our case, instead of simulating a protein, we simulate the materials. So in the case of the materials, we can already know how to compute such a physical property based on the first principle, so-called Schrödinger equations, solving Schrödinger equations. However, solving Schrödinger equations requires a huge time. AI can skip this process. AI trained on the outcomes of such simulations can estimate the new materials properties very quickly. And this is, we developed one of the such a material foundation model for the materials. And this can be used in the many different fields in the industries. So this is an example of the use case of our Matlantis. So for example, in the case of the automobile companies who are now trying to develop new batteries, they can use Matlantis to find new batteries candidates and also analyze some failure of the batteries without the experiments. And also, in the case of the semiconductor, they try to find a new process or use new materials. Even in this case, simulation is very, very effective today. And a recent one is linked one, MOF. MOF is famous as this year's Nobel Prize in the chemical is for the MOF. And MOF is metal organic frameworks, a combination of the metals and also the other such unique structures. And before the Matlantis, it was very challenging to simulate such a very strange structure. But now the Matlantis can simulate the MOF structures. And many companies, not only in Japan, but also the many overseas global companies using Matlantis to find new MOF structures. So today we have global customers over from like automobile, semiconductors, and other areas. And I can say about the entities, but from the business perspective, why we can develop this, although the other countries, other startups in the, say, United States and the EU, now not succeed as in this case, is because Japan is very good at it's concentrating that these all industries in the very narrow space. So we can find early customers from, say, the Toyota from the automobile field, and also the many semiconductors from the Tokyo Electron and these semiconductors companies. We can easily find these customers, and then we can mature this product. And this is one reason why we can develop this Matlantis in Japan. So Matlantis is widely used in the global, and also now it simulates about several trillion atoms per month by the customers. So many customers are now using Matlantis to simulate many new materials and try to find new materials in all these different domains. Then quickly introduce the next one, plant automation and optimization. So we also do the different business on the plant operations. So in this case, the customer is like oil plant operator and also large-scale plant operators. These plants are operated by the humans operators manually today. And we are now supporting these operations using AI. So one of the largest example is the ENEOS Kawasaki refinery, the largest oil refinery in Japan. So in this case, our AI system is running for 2 or 3 years, and it works well. And it works even when in this case, they need to process the crude oil, and the challenge is the change of the crude oil switching. Crude oil becomes all properties in the plant different. So, however, our AI system automatically detects the state of the plant and try to adjust the many actuators, controllers, valves to make a plant stable. And we hope that this AI system can make more efficient operations than the manual operations. Also, we developed the robotics and developed a robot. And this is a very simple robot called a Kachaka. We first start a business of this Kachaka for the personal use cases. So in my home, this Kachaka is now working. But this business, only to be honest, did not succeed. People don't want this AGV in their home. However, the many customers from the industries want this and use. This is now widely used in the many places. So there are a case of the our AGV, this system is used in the factories and also clinic and also food store. Unlike the existing AGV, it can run on the without any guide on the ground, and it works well on the very narrow space. Japan is very, very crowded, and it needs such robot needs to run in such a crowded space. And also, one of the growing demand is in the clinic or hospitals. In this case, also our robot is running between the different places to deliver the drugs and also deliver the devices between the different places. So this is growing. I know that in the China or United States, there are many new robots like a bipedal robot, and however, in the industry, still there's many challenges to adopt such a new humanoid robot. So this is we very recently we released this several years ago, but demand was not good. But from the last year and this year, demand is skyrocketing. Many people are now using this robot in the industry. One of the reasons is that in Japan, many people, especially in the rural area, there is very hard to find such a rubber, and rubber shortage makes this usage. So finally, here I summarize my thought about how we, Japan, try to utilize AI. So in Japan, there are many challenges now. The largest one is the rubber shortage, especially in the rural areas. And our robotics technologies are widely used in the rural areas and regional areas. And second is to support the Japan's strong industries using AI. And third is a bit controversial, but I know that US and China have very good, talented people and good AI technologies and make frontier models. However, Japan can provide some neutral model between these two powers and try to augment some remaining areas and provide AI for such use cases. And fourth is that this also consider about Japan's current status. Japan has a very limited energy electrics power capability now, and we try to utilize this as a opportunity to drive the innovations if we want to pursue develop the power efficient AI in this case. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Great. So we're going to open it up with some questions. So just think of your questions. I'm going to just start the discussion just by asking one question of you. One of the things that was striking in your presentation was that just the variety of domains in which you are applying this technology. And I wanted to get a sense of how AI's use in Japan differs from that in the United States. In particular, you mentioned AI being used in manufacturing, robotics, materials, and I wondered, how the Japanese strategy differs and the roles played by government, academia, private companies, the government play into what dimensions of AI are going to be competitive in, say, the United States versus in Japan.
Yeah, so even because of such a status at Japan, I'm IT startups, so we need to we need to compete with Geffen, Google, and this is almost impossible because they are very strong. And however, when it comes to the more industrial use cases, like today's theme, like using AI in the actual plant, and in this case, yeah, there are many still opportunity for even for Japan, and to develop some unique new AI solutions. So I would like to focus more on the industrial use cases found in the very niche domain, like say for example, in the semiconductor fields, there are many niche fields, and today's AI is very still challenging to solve the problem. So we do this area, and the government also tried to find, in this case, Japan try to make new industries. So today's Japan's industries heavily depend on the automobile alone, and this is not good. And so Japanese government tries to try to make new industries like semiconductors, and also maybe the entertainment. Now the Japan's very strong. Many people in the global see the Japanese anime, manga, but the business is not good actually. Because I think that most people do not pay at all to the Japanese manga or anime because they watch it on the YouTube or something. And so, this is one of the challenge for us, how to make such a global business, even in the, say, the entertainment cases. This is also very challenging. I need to transform the current business. So government support in the several ways, and as an AI provider, we try to transform the existing their business or industries.
So let me open it up to some questions. Any questions from the floor? Okay, I see you over here. So please state your name and your affiliation.
I'm Adam. I'm a student at CBS. So my question.
CBS is the business. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So my question is that it seems like at least like PFN, it's a very vertically integrated with you want the entire stack, whereas I think a lot of U.S. companies in particular, right? They like focus on one thing, or there's one thing they want to do well. Is there a reason why, I think in Japan in particular, or your company, it developed this way to try to do everything? And then as well, right, just during the period when it was like growing, right, was there instances where some you mentioned were profitable and some were less profitable, or how do you like support that during that time?
Yeah, so this is not, I need to say that this is not all Japanese characteristic, but our company is a bit special or strange from the history. So one of the reasons why we can do such a lot of things is that we raise the money not from the VCs, but from the business partners. So when we need to, when we raise the money from the VCs, they need to, so VCs want us to focus on one thing to succeed at that business quickly. So, however, in our case, since we raise the money from the business partners, in this case, they do not want capital gain. They want to they want to utilize our technologies to make the new product or service in their business. So this is why we do a lot of different things in the different domains. And we do not require to become larger, faster. So this is one reason. And also, however, we actually focus on the AI. And in today's AI, it requires to make a good AI. We need to consider also the chip and data infrastructure, computing infrastructure at the same time. So actually, even though we focus on the AI, we need to do a lot of things if we need to differentiate actually in the AI fields.
I see over here, gentleman in gray. Just wait for the microphone, please. And again, identify yourself and your affiliation.
Hi, I'm Kwan. I'm a student from SIPA. I have a question because I'm from China. So
SIPA is the
School of International and Public Affairs.
Okay.
So I think what PFN is doing is exactly what Chinese companies are doing right now, because we don't have the access to the AI models in the US. There's competition between the US and China. But I think it's different from Japan because Japanese people can use the Gemini or Cloud or something, right? So is that a part of the national strategy that, like, why government is supporting your firm, your company to develop such a vertical company to develop your own AI industry? Because I think what you're doing is like the basic of Google and then plus Palantir. Yeah, it's the combination of these two, and it exactly happens in the US. But if I'm a businessman in Japan, I can also use Google's basic infrastructure and then develop the service as you did, if I have the access to the Japanese data. But I feel like your unique economic mode will be your connections with the companies, the data in Japan, which might not allow foreign investors to access. Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, so our company is actually not succeeded at all. But I think that our position is very similar to the Palantir, actually, accessing the important information and dive into each domain deeply to support their business or even support the government. So our business is very similar to the Palantir in this case. And however, why we do the chip chip development is actually very, I can answer this as actually our co-founders want to do this, want to develop a chip and supercomputer, and also from the AI side, we need to. If we want to differentiate in the future, we need to develop a chip, I think. So, so that's why we do this. And investors, I understand that investors do not allow us to do in this way. And but yeah, actually we would like to do this now. And also a second question about why not we use Google Gemini or ChatGPT. And actually, the most Japanese AI startups, AI companies using Gemini, Anthropic, and we actually also utilize this Gemini Open AI and Anthropic if the customers want this. And so, however, in some case, we want to keep the data. So today, it is totally okay. Use any models from any companies or any countries. But in the future, when the AI becomes more important and also understands companies' data more well, then in this case, many companies want to control such an AI also. So in this case, I hope that we can provide some AI that actually can be controlled by customers, and customers can also keep their internal know-how or knowledge inside.
Hi, thank you so much. So I'm an alum. I'm working in the AI space for a voice recognition venture. My question for you is, I'm very interested in what you talk about the neutral position Japan is taking on, and make a lot of sense. What do you think about the South Korea, the factor? Like, so what do you, would Japan, in the future, let's say if China take a full potential in AGI capacity, is Japan going to team up with other South Asia partners or fully integrate with the US system, or you have, form your independent framework on the AI? Thank you.
Thank you. So one of the difficulty in Japan, not China or US, is that the market is very small. Only we have 100 million people, and this is decreasing. And we need to go abroad if we do the business. And in this case, LLM also needs to, if we develop a LLM, we need to, in the future, need overseas customers. And one of the recent our activities, not discussing today, is a translation. And the translation, in this case, using LLM AI to make a translation is a very, very good today. And I think that most English native speakers do not understand how much the non-native speakers are struggling in using understanding English. So in this case, Japan can provide a good translation because they very suffer from the these difficulties. And also, similar to us, that many countries are struggling in the languages, especially in the not in the East Asia or Africa and so on. So in this case, similar to the Japan's case, we can provide some solutions in the same situations. And also, I respect a lot about today's Chinese advancement in the AI. And I actually like the research from the Chinese companies who can provide open research, even though today now the most advanced technologies are now closing. So I think, yeah, respect, but in the business domains, I think that we need to compete in the global between the China and the US and Japan. So we hope that, yeah, I understand that it is very challenging to compete in the directory. We want to find some niche space where these two strong groups do not focus and try to find such a niche areas. Yeah.
Hi, thank you so much for being here today. I'm Akshay, student at the business school. My question is to your earlier point about finance requiring almost a significant amount more of compute power and resources from an AI development perspective. Is that inherent just for Japan, or is it on a global scale? And why did you decide not to prioritize that? If, is there some sort of moat there that is hard to overcome, or could you consider that to be an opportunity space?
Sorry, I could not catch some, please.
Yeah, I'm just wondering simply, why does finance require more of a compute in terms of AI resources than all the other industries that you mentioned? And why did you decide not to essentially dive deep into that like you did with R&D and material sciences?
Good finance. So we actually now focus more on the finance. I think before doing so in the semiconductor, we first thought it as an R&D activity, but now that we need to provide this to the customers and it requires much more money to investment. And so now we focus more to try to raise the money from the VCs and so on. And however, in the Japan's environment to raise the money is very, very not good. Is not good as Silicon Valley or other places. So yeah, we try to try to find some partners or also need to expand our activities globally so that we can make we can raise the money from the finance.
Great. Well, I apologize. There are lots of hands up, and I couldn't get to everybody. But that just speaks to the interest that the audience had in our speaker. So I want to just take a minute to just thank our speaker, Dr. Daisuke Okanohara, for an excellent presentation. And I certainly learned a lot and about your company's strategy and how Japan differs from the rest of the world. And once again, I also just want to thank our individual and corporate sponsors for their support. This is our last major event of the fall, but I invite you to go to our website to learn more about CJEB's upcoming events and activities for the spring semester. We will begin again on February 24th with Junko Koeda of the Bank of Japan, and on April 22nd with Hiroshi Sakurai of Dasai, the sake maker. Always a fun event. And we'll have a lot more events that you can also find on X and LinkedIn. So to everybody in the audience, good luck and have a great break. And look forward to seeing you next year. And please join me in a warm thank you for our speaker.